Hunter, I remember years ago the industry tried to make a run at claiming that their cell phones were safe and that there was no reason to be alarmed and there was no reason for a lawsuit. And Peter Angelos, as a matter of fact, had brought a series of lawsuits against the cell phone industry, and they really never went anywhere. What's different now?
Well, the knowledge of the industry is not any different, but the developing science is a lot different. One of the things is that the cell phones didn't get introduced into the market into the mid-1980s, and these brain tumors that are forming on adults and children take a period of time to develop. And so as time has passed, we've seen the latency run, and we've seen people who've used cell phones for more than 10 years and more than 30 minutes a day, as the World Health Organization study revealed, that are coming up with glioblastomas and astrocytomas. So
is there anything equivocal about the World Health Organization? I mean, there's nothing equivocal about what they've said. They said, we believe that it's serious enough that you need to be aware of it and you need to act accordingly. I mean, isn't that basically where they landed?
That's where they landed, and they said they've labeled it a Class 2 carcinogen in their ratings. So.
Well, let's explain. First of all, the type of radiation that comes out of cell phone it's called non-ionizing. It's not like an X-ray. It's more like a real low-powered kind of microwave oven, I guess is the best way to put it, right?
That's correct. I mean, cell phones are microwave radios, and they're putting out power in the 1 wattage range, and so it's the industry has said consistently, well, non-thermal or non-heated radiation such as this coming out of a cell phone would not cause cancer, and it's simply not true.
Well, first of all, we know we certainly know that there's a class of people that are more likely to have problems, and that's children. I mean, you've got children's their skulls are thinner, their scalps are thinner, the radiation can penetrate deeper into the brain. There's all types of factors that we certainly better not ignore where it comes to our children, where it comes to use of these phones. Isn't that, did I get that right?
I mean, you got it right. The younger the beginning of the use, the greater the risk. Mm-hmm. Pap, there's a guy named Dr. Gandhi, who's a professor at the University of Utah, is a world-renowned bioelectrical engineer who's done brain mapping, actually was a consultant for Motorola, helped design the testing of phones. But when he revealed the fact that the cell phones were penetrating the brains and the head skulls of children much deeper than adults, then he no longer was a consultant. And so the brain mapping that's been done shows that you have a tremendous effect on young people.
Well, the industry has been so effective in trying to make this whole thing sound like tinfoil hat crazy. As a matter of fact, I was listening to an NPR segment a couple of weeks ago, and even legitimate reporters who usually get it, reporters who understand that this is a real story, this is important. It's almost as if they were reading off an industry script, and the script was, well, there's really not anything to this still. This is still speculative. It's just way out there. Nothing's further from the truth, though. This is not way out there right now, is it?
It's not at all. I mean, that's just industry spin. This wireless industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, but I mean, there was a guy named Robert Kane, Pap, that worked for Motorola for 30 years who wrote a book. He was one of the testing. He was in the early years before they used dummies, they used people, and he developed 2 brain tumors, and he self-published a book called Cellular Telephone Russian Roulette. And he tells the story, and so this stuff is dangerous, and it's if people will look and take the time to get educated, and if they'll look at the fine print in their phones, where their phones are telling them to hold even the fine print's telling them to hold the phone away from the ear about an inch, and so.
Well, it's one thing if we say, well, we're not worried about it from our personal standpoint, but when we say that we're not going to do anything, we're not going to look into this, and we have children that are using these devices, it seems so lame that a parent would say, oh, I'm not even going to take the time to look. Because if they look, what they find is they find the research that came out of the World Health Organization. They find research that's coming from many sources right now. And it's clear that, first of all, the industry has a big advantage, and that is that it takes a long time. There's latency for development of the tumor, as you pointed out earlier,
Yeah.
that it takes a brain glioma type of tumor. I mean, it could be 10, 15, 20 years. So there's no epidemiology out there that shows us how bad it is. And right now, the industry is taking advantage of the fact that it is slow, that it's, it's like smoking, or it's like asbestos, or it's like leaded gasoline that takes a long time to cause the kind of cancers we're talking about.
Actually, there is some epidemiology. The Europeans came out with the cell phones ahead of us. The Swedens and Norway and Sweden, and Dr. Hardell, who started doing epidemiological studies in the 90s, 2000s, has now showed fourfold increase in people using cell phones heavily and getting brain tumors. There was a national cancer registry in Israel, looked at data from, started in early 1970, went through 2006, but looking in the latter years, they found that there was a fourfold increase in parotid gland cancers, which are glands right next to the location on the cheek where people hold the cell phones.
Now,
so you're looking at, there's studies overseas that have been done, and the reason why it's significant is Sweden, Norway, a lot of these are socialized medicine countries where they keep better records.
Yeah, they're required to.
That's correct.
And so they have a better look-back procedure than we do in the United States.